Welcome back to another episode of Imagine More. We missed you guys. We are doing a Sunday session and we're looking forward to having a great show today. I mean, Sundays is a very odd day. We normally don't do shows on Sundays, but we felt like the news was pressing this week and that we had to get to you guys and to give you guys our updates. And, we had a vice president debate. We're going to talk about that a little bit today. And then we're going to talk about some other policy things like normal. But we have a great show. It's going to have, I think, a lot of information you guys can take with you for the week. And as we get closer and closer to the election, we are definitely working hard to try to figure out what ways we can help to get out the vote. So, without saying more, how's your week been, Seth?
It's been a strong week. A lot of different things have been happening recently. We didn't get to cover right after the vice presidential debate.
Yeah,
We had a few scheduling things, but how do we feel about that, Jesse? You watched the debate, right?
yeah,
What's the
I
general
did.
impression you're getting?
I feel like I was watching two gentlemen sipping on some whiskey, talking about their plans in life. You know, that's how I took it. I mean,
Like
it just
they seem more like elitist, something like that.
it's hard to say elitist when you're talking about Tim Walz.
You're right.
That's not something you associate him with.
The aura
Um,
was so elitist because JD Vance just oozes that much elitism that.
yeah, right. He's like the
Yeah.
most. He's like to me like he pretends. He's a pretender.
Yeah.
It's like he's one of those things where it's like I'm speaking in front of a million people, so I'm not gonna sound like a nutcase. I'm speaking in a room of 20 people, and you guys can see who I really am.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say all this crazy stuff because that's what I really truly believe.
You're definitely right.
And that's yeah, and that's what I think JD Vance is. He's a chameleon.
Yeah.
It's like it's funny. It's like everyone says that about politicians though, the chameleons, but he's actually a true chameleon. Like he hated Trump, now he likes Trump. It was like he says crazy things, but when he's on the debate stage, he makes it seem like he's a rational person. And it's like he has these on and off switch, which is like very similar to what I saw with Marco Rubio.
Yeah, that's very true.
And yeah,
It's just a slimy
and
look.
I'm surprised that
It's
is
just
there what?
so slimy the way they are. They're like they're slimy politicians. So you can tell that they went to really rich elitist schools and they've been procured to act a certain way in front of the rich, the well-off people, and they know exactly how to speak to that audience. And they can prepare a speech. They can prepare. My mic is acting up again. Is it just bad as last time? Damn. All right. Well, you talk. I'm gonna see if I can fix it.
All right, so yeah, so he's like I said, he's one of those where it's just he's such a chameleon. He does, he's gonna say whatever his audience says, and he's not, as much as people like to get on Kamala Harris, Vice President Harris for not having many positions, um, you know, a long position on certain issues. He's definitely one of those guys where nothing comes out of what he says that you can bet the farm on. That's what he cares about. He's
Yeah.
gonna say whatever he's gonna say to. Oh, it's good, perfect. He's gonna say
Oh,
whatever he's
it
gonna
sounds
say
good
to
now.
yeah, to galvanize his base, and that is what he's gonna do. I mean, I think what I did take from the debate was that I liked the decorum. The decorum was great. Like speaking like two, not yelling at each other, not screaming at each other. Just this is my position, this is your position. In a respectful way. I think that's what came across, and
Yeah.
that's kind of been missing in our politics for at least the last 10 years. I think the last respectable debate was Mitt Romney and Barack Obama,
I agree.
right? And so that was that was good. But I mean, I don't think anyone came out of there thinking like, "Oh, I'm going to vote for the other side now." I think they both did what they
Yeah.
were supposed to do. They were supposed to defend their home court.
If you looked at the polls, it kind of reflected that pretty much everyone that watched, well, not everyone, but overall, both candidates got like 10% more popular, and also it was like 1 to 2% said that they changed their mind as a result. So pretty much nobody changed their mind. They both just had a better opinion of the vice presidential candidates than they did before.
Yeah,
So
and
no real impact.
no real impact. I mean, though, I think what's concerning, though, if you ask me, and I think the Democrats need to start working on that in the next 3 weeks. I don't even know if you can do that in the next 3 weeks, but what they should really be focusing on is hammering JD Vance as Kim being Trump's successor. You know, because I think JD Vance, even though he may come off as articulate in the debate stage, his policy stances are out there, and I would, I would definitely, if I was, the last couple of weeks, because I feel like going after Trump in these next couple of weeks really is not going to help.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that JD Vance, I think although he's gained a tremendous amount of popularity amongst the Republicans now,
Hmm.
all that can go away if Trump loses,
Yeah.
because we know how Trump acts towards his vice presidents in the past.
Yeah, of course. He's gonna blame it him. He's gonna blame it on him. But I think that you're the Democrats, I would go after him to say that, hey, Trump is kind of similar to the Biden playbook that the Republicans did to us. We just do it back to them. It's like, well, do you want a vice president? If let's say Trump doesn't make it, do you want a President Vance?
Yeah, I don't know how
No.
people will feel once we've seen him good in one debate setting. I think that if
Yeah,
people really got to more exposure to Vance, I don't think he would do that well.
he won't. I mean, most people don't even know his stances. They don't know him. It's kind of similar to what Kamala Harris had to face before the first debate. Like I remember telling you and the audience that this that debate was going to define who she was because most
Yeah,
people don't know who she was, and she did a good job and it
she did
defined
a
her.
great job.
Yeah, she did a great job and it defined her. So my thing with you know JD Vance is he has we have an opportunity to still label him because people
Yeah,
don't know who he is, and if they do a good enough job, independents will like this guy's a little on the rockers,
yeah,
and we're gonna support this guy to ever become president. Because what happens is, it's just like everything. You put your best foot forward, and that's what he did in the debate. But it doesn't negate your policy stance. Your policy stance are out there, and I think
yeah.
they need to do a better job at making it seem like he's the apparent the word I'm looking for, that he's going to be that the
The
next in
success.
line.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
successor.
the successor.
Yeah,
And I think that if they do that, that would work very well to probably sway some independent voters, whoever is left. There's probably not many left, but whoever is left.
I think Democrats have been campaigning pretty smart by attacking Vance so much because vice presidential candidates, they could theoretically help the ticket in certain margins,
Hmm.
but the capacity to hurt the ticket is so much bigger. We saw that with Sarah Palin. We saw
Yep.
that with multiple situations. I think what was didn't who was John Kerry's vice president? Was that the guy with the affair? Edwards? Didn't he have an affair or something like that?
He did have an affair. I don't know if it was John Kerry. Was it John Kerry vice
I
president?
think so. I think that was his vice bench. I think so.
I think John Kerry was running for president himself, and then
Yeah.
the affair came out. I
Well,
think he said,
who was his running mate? It was Edwards, right? Kerry Edwards.
no, John. What's this guy? Man, see how far from grace you fall.
I was
John
5.
Edwards, huh?
In all fairness, I was 5 years old. But
I think I don't know how old I was. There's no way you're 5. It was 2008 when he ran for president.
John Kerry? No, that's 2004. 2008 was McCain.
But he
McCain.
ran in 2008.
No, that was Obama. Remember?
Obama did
Obama.
run. Remember, there's
Obama.
a lot of people ran that year.
Did Kerry
Obama,
really run again?
he ran in '08. Unless I'm seeing, he ran. He was in Congress from 2003 to 05. Um, Let me see here. John Edwards run for president.
Anyways,
All right. So
vice president. Yeah.
so he ran in 04, right? So he definitely ran in 04. And you were 100% right. In 04, he was a vice presidential running mate of John Kerry. You're right.
I wish
But
I
in
was.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say I wish I was more politically
Give me one
active so
second.
I could have a. What was
Give me
that?
one second. Give me 1 second.
No worries. I wish I was more politically active in 2004 because then I could have a more accurate assessment on the impact that Edwards had on the 2004 campaign. But
Sure.
knowing the America in that time, an affair could literally have taken like 5% away from the vote from Kerry. Like if you think about Bill
No,
Clinton, all that stuff.
Brooklyn,
Oh,
yeah.
the conservative America in 2004. I don't know, man. I think that was a big controversy. Remember then after that, the biggest controversy, Obama was wearing a tan suit. Like we haven't seen controversy since for a
Yeah,
while, dog.
yeah, that's true. I
Now
mean,
Trump,
Trump was the most conservative, controversial president we've had
ever.
since Bill Clinton.
He's so far surpassed. I think since
Well,
Nixon.
yeah, I mean, since Nixon, I don't think Nixon was that controversial. To be honest with you, I
He got
mean, not
impeached.
compared.
Everybody kind of hated him. It was
Yeah, but,
Ford probably lost because he pardoned him.
yeah, but I don't think Ford. I don't even think Ford wanted it. My thing with the reason why I say Nixon's not as controversial as Clinton or Trump was
Yeah.
because I just think that his issue was like he was trying to stay in power. And
Well, yeah,
for
that's
him,
kind
it
of
was
Trump's
more
issue,
like,
right?
yeah, but his thing was like he tried to get like the master plan of the Democratic Party and to
Yeah.
try to stay so he know what they were doing to get
Yeah.
him out. So I mean that's a far cry than what Trump is doing.
No, his stuff is definitely in hindsight is far less controversial. But I meant at
Yeah,
the
yeah,
time. At the time, it
yeah,
was considered very controversial. That's more what I'm alluding to.
yeah. You're right, 100%. It was definitely for 19, I don't know, 50.
Oh,
No,
Nixon, that was
70.
1970,
Yeah,
75,
70s.
76, because I think in
Who
76
did-
is with Jimmy Carter ran.
No, was it Carter was it 76? I thought it was 72.
Nope. Jimmy Carter was 76 because
Yeah, Reagan was
76
80.
one term, and then he ran against Reagan
Yeah, in the
in
80s.
1980.
Yeah,
Wait,
so
yes. Wait. Yes, that's right. I'm like, he
if
ran
we
in
had history
1984,
teachers,
but
they
that
would
was
like
his.
totally fail us right now.
I look
Like
like what?
if we had history teachers, they would totally fail us right now.
Yeah, no, I think we're pretty much right. We just have to
I think you're
fully
right though.
remember.
It was okay. It was 76. He was in
Yeah,
76. Then that would have made Nixon 72.
yeah.
Because
Nixon
Nixon
ran
only
in I think
served one
68,
term.
right?
He
Nixon
ran in
first ran in 68.
no first round against Kennedy.
You're right. He
And,
ran 60
yeah, he
and
ran in
lost.
60, lost. Then he ran in 68 and won.
Yeah.
And then 72. Who was in 72?
Oh, he ran for re-election.
Oh, so he got elected after 72.
The Watergate scandal was because of the 72 election. He was
Yeah, okay.
spying on McGovern. I think McGovern ran
McGovern. So
72,
I thought, okay, so I thought that was
unless it was
prior
Humphrey.
to the election.
Oh, it was
So
It was prior to the election. It was before the election, and they won in a landslide anyway. So they never needed to spy in the first place. But post-election, that's
they
when
talking
all the
about,
controversy came out about the spying and stuff, and that's when he had to retire, and Gerald R. Ford took over.
yeah, but Nixon was never. I mean, I can't believe. Sorry, Gerald Ford wasn't going to win another term. Not because I don't think because of Nixon. I think just because
Yeah,
Republicans have been sitting there for 8 years. I mean, before
that's right.
Nixon,
Definitely
it
right.
was, yeah, before Nixon, it was Kennedy and Johnson,
Because the
and
classic, like the cycle, the inherent
yeah,
cycle of
every 8
opposition.
years. Yep. So he
Very,
wasn't.
very good point.
Yeah, he wasn't going to win again.
Plus,
So
Carter was a young Southern Democrat. charismatic. He was very religious. He had all the right chops at the moment. He just really pissed off everybody from both sides throughout his entire administration. So it's
I mean,
shameful. But
his problem with him is he's never been, and that's, I mean, that's when I look at DeSantis and how he bombed nationally,
yeah,
it's every party. Every party has that. It's like state elections are very different from national elections. They just are. It's
yeah,
like you have to. It's the thing. I would say state. You can win state elections and local elections with just pure money. If you have a lot of
oh,
money, you can probably can win majority of them, 70 to 80% of them. But nationally, money could never. Nationally, money can never get you can win buy you an election. And
yeah,
they
because at the end of the day, it's Democrat or Republican. Every single person has the same choice. So I mean,
yep.
money helps shape perception. If you are a new candidate like Kamala Harris and you need some name recognition, that's very important to start off with money. But at the end of the day, I mean, people are gonna pick left or they're gonna pick right. Maybe they'll be crazy and pick some Green Party candidate, but
I don't
money
know.
doesn't.
I just feel like nationally money doesn't matter as much because
Yeah,
look at I think Kamala ran a lot raised a lot of money when she went against Joe Biden in 2020
yeah.
and she lost
But that is the
because
primary too. Primary elections different than general elections.
that's true. But you're going against Joe Biden, which is a name nationally,
Yeah.
and you're Kamala Harris or you're Cory Booker or you're I don't know how many people ran Elizabeth Warren and Bernie had to me the biggest name outside of Joe Biden that year, and
Hmm.
you see he went toe for toe with them for a
But
long time.
the thing that ultimately decided the 2020 primaries was Joe Biden won the pragmatic vote. It was, everybody picked their favorite candidate and they all got stuck in their little camps. Joe
Hmm.
Biden was one of the lowest people like in voter enthusiasm. People weren't like, "I love this guy." They were like, "This
Of
guy
course,
can win." The most amount of people thought that he could beat Trump, and that's why he was the chosen candidate at the end of the day. Because people were so, instead of consolidating around the progressive vote or the centrist vote, they picked the person that was their favorite. I mistakenly voted for Tulsi Gabbard. You know, we all make mistakes.
Kelsey's not as bad as people make her to be.
She's pretty bad. She's never been worse. I mean,
I
at
mean,
one
her
point,
rhetoric, her
admittedly
rhetoric,
in 2020, yes, you're right. She was fine.
yeah,
But
her rhetoric lately has been just. I think you have someone who's like, they had the spotlight for many years,
mhm,
and then all of a sudden the spotlight's taken from them.
yeah.
So what they try to do is like a cat. They scratch and crawl, and like I just need attention.
Mhm.
So I feel like it says things just to get people's attention. She doesn't
Yeah.
really. I don't think she's like. I don't
I
think.
I
I don't think when people think she's like. I don't think she's a Republican. That
I
I
don't
don't
think
think.
that she is Republican like the same values. I think that she's like you called it. You said chameleon. I think for
Yeah.
her, it's more accurate to call her a grifter. They're a
Uh,
little bit different. She
mhm.
went where the attention was. She was on Fox News. All the Democrats did not like her after 2020, so she
Yeah.
went where she was liked because that's how she perceived.
Exactly.
Oh, they're good people. They like me. Just like Trump, he goes where he's
Yeah.
liked. So many people
Exactly.
are so afraid to surround themselves with people that are willing to critique them, because people that critique you want you to be better. While people
I think,
who tell you what you want to hear want something from you. They don't care about you. They want something from you.
of course,
So,
facts. I agree
what were
with
you
you
about to
100%.
say?
No, I was just gonna say. I think Tulsi Gabbard's problem was the fact that she went toe to toe with Hillary Clinton, and I think she didn't
Yeah,
have enough pull. Like Barack Obama went toe to toe with Hillary Clinton, but it
yeah,
was so obvious that he was a better candidate than her that it was not even close. Um, but Tulsi Gabbard, I think she got offended because Hillary Clinton called her pretty much a Russian
yeah.
spy,
A Russian asset. Yeah,
a Russian asset, and that kind of just killed her politically.
yeah,
And it's like, and so I can understand her why she's kind of doing this. Like, fine, the head of the party of the Democratic Party, Hillary
yeah,
Clinton says I'm a Russian spy. I'm never going to win in the Democratic Party anymore. So I see
And that
it's
all
like,
happened. That all
mhm,
happened because in 2016, Tulsi Gabbard was the vice president of the DNC, and she
mhm,
dropped out. She left that role so she could endorse Bernie Sanders. Now we thought it was because she was a progressive and she wanted to endorse Bernie Sanders, but it turns out she just hated Hillary Clinton so much that,
yeah,
I mean, I understand it, I get it, but she screamed and critiqued the Democratic Party so much that she literally just surrounded herself by people that agreed with those critiques, and that's not
mhm,
Democrats. And she went slowly. She went an independent. She took her role at Fox News, where she made her money. She makes money now because she gets paid at Fox News every time.
yeah,
Everybody just wants to be loved. Everybody just wants attention, and you can really see somebody set themselves apart when they just are actually willing to stand on their values when everybody around them's hating them, calling them a liar, all this stuff. No, she changed. She changed when people critiqued her. And that's not a sign of a good leader, in my
that's true.
opinion. And that's why I'm really ashamed, because it's not only the politics that she changed, it really just showed that she never had even the values that I thought she did, that were what I thought was inspiring to me. I'm like, wow, she's really she's going to take on Hillary Clinton, the former leader of the party. She's willing to attack all these people because she really believes in these policies. No, she changed her policies because she cared more about the ability to critique the Democrats than she cared about healthcare and women's rights and all these things. She's a sellout. And, now people like Elon Musk are like, well, who's the real moderate party? Trump is surrounding himself with lifelong prominent Democratic leaders like Robert F. Kennedy and Tulsi Gabbard. Like,
Yeah.
that's never really actually been the case if you were paying attention. She was
Well,
never, I mean,
they're
go
using the
ahead.
dad's name. They're using Robert Kennedy's name to
Yes,
try to
true.
say, yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to think
Yeah,
about
it's,
Tulsi Gabbard anymore, man.
yeah,
Just makes
to
me sad.
me, no, man. I'm with you on that because I feel like she had a lot of promise.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like she had a future. Her Yang.
Yeah.
Um,
Yang
I
is
think that was
still
such a,
holding it together.
yeah. I just think that was such a good Democratic primary.
Agreed.
2016. That was really good. They were all. It's like 2016 was really good. I mean, they gave it to Hillary obviously because she's been there forever.
Yeah.
Um, 2020. Am I getting my things right? The 2020
20,
wasn't as good, in my opinion.
well, no, 2016 was the Bernie Hillary one. 2020 was the one with the 30 Democrats.
So 30 Democrats. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that one wasn't that great. Um,
No. Well, the 30 Democrats had like, you know, that at least you had, if you had a political stance, you had somebody that represented you.
yeah,
There,
that's very
I
true.
mean, there's a
Yeah, that
reason why
was,
2016 Bernie got almost 50% of the vote in the primary. Let's be honest. 50% of the Democratic Party is not Democratic Socialists. They
no,
just, were just left enough that he catered more to their values than Hillary Clinton, who's, you know, pretty much the epitome of the establishment Democratic Party of that
yeah,
time.
yeah, that
Which,
was hilarious. You know,
which
there.
people,
I mean, that.
oh, I was just gonna say, people voted for Obama in 2008 because he was the change candidate, not because he
Yep.
was an establishment Democrat, and that's why he won so substantially. He ended up becoming an establishment Democrat. That's not why he won re-election. He won re-election because people still liked him. Hillary Clinton just ran the same political model as Obama without any of the charisma or the promise of rhetoric of hope and change. And no surprise that people didn't. They picked the change candidate, which was Trump.
Yep.
Now
They
that's
always
why,
pick against that.
and in 2020 they picked the change candidate, which was Joe Biden, because it was under the Trump administration.
And
They
they would.
always will always vote for change and hope.
Yep. They just didn't
And
want to hear Trump anymore. That's what
yeah,
it was. It was like you talk. Trump was been talked about on TV every single day, and people were like, "Okay, we need to move on from this." And
yeah,
every single person that's been elected by, well, has been endorsed by Trump has lost their elections
mhm,
significantly. There's maybe like 10% who actually makes it through.
Well, it's not
and that's
people that
why.
have been endorsed by Trump. It's endorsed in the primary, like a Trump picked candidate. It's not. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
like every
So
Republican. He endorses all the Republicans, but in the primaries, his chosen candidates are the farther right, the MAGA loyalists. They end up winning the primaries and losing the general election. So that's his problem. Is picking just loyalists instead of the old Republican strategy, which is just
when
yeah, exactly, yeah, to
yeah,
win. And now we're going to see a cascading effect this year because we have extremists all over in national races. Well, not national races. I just mean, well, do you consider a Senate seat a national race?
yeah.
It's not a national race because it's for like a nationally represented
What's a
office. That's
national
more what
race?
I meant. Okay,
It's
I
not a
just meant like
national
it's
race.
not voted on nationally.
No, it's
You know
not
what I
voted
mean?
on national.
Yeah,
No,
but
but
it's representing nationally.
yeah. But see, the Senate and Congress are very national races, even though they're
Hmm.
very local.
Yeah.
But there's a movie. What's it called? It's this guy. He gave money to like. It's a really good movie. I watch it like all the time. He gave this money to. So back in, you remember? Well, this is a little history for you. So back in when Russia attacked Afghanistan,
Oh yes,
Charlie
in
Wilson War.
1980,
There it is.
late 1980s, right?
Yes, got the movie. Charlie Wilson's War.
Mm.
So you ever seen that movie?
What was the name? The title?
Charlie Wilson War.
I don't think so. I'm gonna Google it right now just to have it pulled up.
Well, so yeah, so that's about a
That's a good
Congress. It's a good movie. It was
movie,
about a
huh?
Congress.
What's the premise?
It was about a congressman who was elected. He's a congressman from Texas, and he was elected for like I don't know 4 or 5 times in a row. He's like in a safe seat, and he said the statement.
Yeah.
That was the premise of the movie. What I remember from the movie that always sticks with me is that he says that congressional races are not about the local people. What congressional races are about is the money, and
Yeah.
you need to find a group, a special group that because he was a Jew, and
Hmm.
so he always got his money donated by Jewish people, and
Yeah.
that's why he always won. And he was just saying that. So when we look in the context of races like state race, state senate, I'm sorry, not state senate, but U.S. Senate or U.S. Congress, yeah, they're local races, but they're really national races because you need a special
Yeah.
interest group in order to fund you,
Yeah.
in order to win those kind of races. But so, yeah, that's my long spiel about how
That is the
you know,
difference between like a state and local election and
yeah,
a national election. Is like your state and local politicians, they may be indoctrinated by a Trump ideology or whatever, but they're not
mhm,
usually bought out because they're
yeah,
representing local businesses and they're representing like generally they're more genuine about their actual policies. They're not grifters who are just using their you know presumed values to get the votes like a standard federal politician. No, they're more like genuine people, genuine Republicans. They're raised to believe in gun rights, all this sort of stuff. They're more
mhm,
easily reachable as humans. But once you get to those national races, you're playing to a broader audience, and you have to have as vague of a message as possible so you can expand your audience as much as possible. And that
yeah,
leads to a lot of ambiguity in your policy. And then it allows for corporations to, we'll give you a little bit of money if you just like, if you represent our values in this cause. And,
yeah,
then you start changing your values because you're trying to get campaign finances. And then at some point you're an elected official, and then the values that you ran on initially are just not represented at all. And then there's nobody in Congress that represents you because they all are more changed by the system than they are able to change the system.
yep,
And that's a
exactly,
major
yeah. And the Supreme Court essentially put that into the law that it is all permissible for all this to happen,
problem.
and I think that we have to change it. I mean, our founding founders, when they were considering this experiment, was what's the best way to get the most efficient government for the people, right? And they had these ideas, but come on, they didn't expect AI, they didn't expect
Oh yeah.
you know mischaracterization of like of ideas and
Mm.
just the sullying of politics. They did. I mean, they knew politics was dirty. I mean, let's not kid
Yeah,
ourselves. Politics has been dirty since humans have existed.
sure.
But they didn't understand the gravity of so many lies and misrepresentations,
Mhm.
and how fast and
Well,
how scalable it can become.
yeah, it's hard to imagine like how
Yeah,
misinformation can spread so drastically when everything's by like the one newspaper in the city. You know what I mean? And like it's not like obviously there's misinformation, but now it's you have a million different news sources and people can cater to their exact predisposed opinions, and
yeah,
everybody's living in a bubble. It's such a different world now that it's not a shock that like society's moved past classical liberalism.
hmm,
Republicans that they're sticking to certain classical liberal values like the establishment Republicans, now not the new MAGA people. But if we're talking
yeah,
about a classical Republican, their values aren't invalid. They're more akin to an older generation though. You know,
yeah,
when your ultimate values are about free speech, all the constitutional values, those are much more important. Not that they're not important now. I just mean like those are the key things that separated them from monarchy, the system that they had before. Before there
yeah,
were, liberalism was the radical position against monarchy. And, a rapidly free market makes sense when it's between the king orchestrating a mercantilist trade, and you give him most of your money for all this stuff is taxed and you get no representation. All the society that existed then is very different, and taxes can be oppressive if they're if you don't get anything as a result of them. They're just taking your money as like that's just what I'm entitled to. No, but
mhm,
if taxes are used as like a redistribution, a form of social program, a way to rebuild society, that's a completely different system altogether. So Republicans are still stuck on the 1776 mindset that we still are like, oh, it's just freedom, which is just means like not having a king or
mhm,
whatever. And now the entire Republican Party has gotten smaller and smaller and weaker, and they had to change the script. They completely changed the party. They've shifted it from economic, laissez-faire policies, which are so obviously false. They so obviously don't affect their voters, the people that vote for those policies.
yeah,
So that's why Trump has no choice but to shift to a populist rhetoric, one that's more anti-elitist, one that mirrors a more progressive critique while offering really conservative solutions, which is what you saw in the vice presidential debate. You couldn't stop hearing Tim Walz and JD Vance go, I actually agree with this guy. I agree with what he's saying about, I think he cares about this issue. I just think
yeah,
that his policy positions are, the opposite of what he's saying. At the end of the day, all right, let's be real. That debate was a reflection on JD Vance. It had almost nothing to do with Tim Walz.
yeah,
Tim Walz, everybody knows, is very likable, very popular, and that he's a nice man. Everybody knows that the nice guy that like offers solutions, people are just
hmm,
gonna trust him. He's offering a solution. He seems authentic and kind. I'm gonna vote for this guy. JD
yeah,
Vance has not been perceived that way before the election. He was very much been given an anti-charismatic perspective, or a reflection of. We saw him in the donut shop, right? We all saw that video
yeah,
where, oh, how long have you worked here? 2 years? Good, good. What donut do you want? Whatever makes sense. Like he's just not a normal person. He can't. So his
hmm,
entire debate strategy, which had been planned pretty much as soon as that video came out. Let's be honest. All they've been thinking about is the vice presidential debate because he has shown his ability to weaken Trump's ticket.
yeah,
So I feel like all they've been focusing on is JD Vance, JD Vance, JD Vance. Get this line right. Get this line right. Get your delivery right. So he had to really, really train himself the way that we did see Kamala Harris. She trained herself politically. She's gotten a lot better. She had a lot of
Yeah.
time because vice presidents don't do anything, so they have a lot of time to
Yeah.
practice their political skills and their political rhetoric. The way they discuss things with leaders and the way all these sort of things. JD Vance has just been how to not be weird, how to not be weird, be normal for dummies. All these dumb, all these things that are. You
Yeah.
saw him just try to mirror Tim Wall's attitude in the debate. Oh, I'm just a Midwestern guy. Oh, I just, I care about school shootings. I just blah 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 blah. He was basically moving to the left rhetorically. Sorry.
Rhetorically,
So
yeah.
it really really showed that like J, JD Vance was in a weak spot, and I don't want to say Tim Walz lost that debate, but that debate was an opportunity for Tim Walz to put him in his grave. And that's not something that happened. We can see that as a loss. You could see that, but most people perceive it as pretty much evenly fought debate. Nobody was like, there was very few polls that were weighted in either direction. I think the most official poll was like 41 or whatever, 41% thought JD Vance won, 41% thought he won, 17% said it was tied, and there was it was like okay,
Yeah.
it was a dead even, which
Yeah.
isn't ideal.
I don't think they swayed. I don't think they swayed anybody. I think it
Exactly.
is what it is. I mean, I've heard this though, that they said that Tim Walz. They believe that Tim Walz lost the election, not election. Excuse
For
me,
the
lost
debate.
the debate. I don't agree. I disagree with that. I think he did what he was supposed to do. I mean,
I,
he's not
I
supposed
I don't think
to.
that he lost the debate. I think he underperformed expectations. But we've had 10 out of 10 expectations of Tim Walz up to this point. So the
Yeah,
fact that there was a few moments like I'm friends with school shooters, moments like the, kind of awkward response to the China question, although not a
yeah,
horrible answer. It's more about his body language and stuff. His answers were, other than the misspeaking moments, they were perfect answers. It's just
yeah.
his
Because I
energy
don't.
was a little bit more frantic than we're used to because he was very, very nervous.
He was very nervous,
Understandable.
and I think anyone knew or that's paying attention knows that he this is his first time on a national stage.
Yeah.
And I think most people give him a pass
Yeah.
because it's like, yeah, we don't expect you. Unlike JD Vance, we will hold his feet to the fire. You're a U.S. senator.
Hmm.
You're gonna know a lot of these national issues.
And he's
Like,
also, made his money in Silicon Valley. He went to Yale. Now, man,
yeah,
now Tim Walz is like just your uncle that just got dropped on
yeah,
national
he's like your
TV.
uncle, and I think that's the narrative around him. It's like, well, he's just a cool guy, you know.
I don't think anybody actually thinks that he's friends with school shooters. People
No,
know he misspoke. It was right after he said that his son was in a school shooting, and so obviously, or had witnessed that or something. So we know he was talking about he's friends with victims of school shootings. Obviously, if you use half your brain, you can figure that out. But if
yeah,
you look at Twitter, you think, oh my gosh, JD Vance he's the next god or something like
yeah.
that. He did
No, I
amazing in
don't.
this debate. He destroyed Tim Walz because Elon Musk can't help himself but to just
With mess with the algorithm. That's not true,
yeah,
man. Everyone can tell. I mean, here's my thing. This debate is going to come down to two things. This debate, excuse me, this election. It's going to be how many of the silent Trump voters come out,
yeah,
and how many of the Democrats come out. And that's it. I mean, there's no. Yes, both sides are doing what they can, but we all know that's what it's going to come down to. It's going to be how many of
turnout.
the silent Trumpers and how many of of the Democratic coalition comes out. If the
Hmm.
Democratic coalition stays home because they're not happy, which I don't see that. I don't really get that vibe.
No,
I
no
mean,
way.
yeah, I've gotten that vibe before, but I
Mhm.
don't see it. Not this time.
In
I
Joe
think,
Biden, that when Joe Biden was running, a lot of Democrats were very comfortable just not voting.
yeah,
Uh, I do think that there's a small portion. I don't, between small and sizable, a medium small amount of people in certain states are voting for Jill Stein because they think that Kamala Harris is somehow the person responsible for everything that's happened in Israel and Palestine. They just are insanely dogmatic leftists that are just, like I said, just like Tulsi Gabbard. They're more addicted to the critique than the actual solutions.
Yeah.
And, they'd rather position themselves as anti establishment than ever sign up for something that could actually lead to all the values that they claim to support. A pragmatic, slow approach is obviously better than no approach at all,
Yeah.
which is what would happen under Jill Stein, who we know to be a Russian asset. We know all the stuff about.
That's it.
Was it? Yes, absolutely.
I didn't
She
know that.
she's a Russian asset. She also, I don't. I wish I remembered the exact details, but she said something like,
She's been running for like
alluding-
years. Like,
"Oh, I know." But
wow.
she's a Russian asset. But we also know about the countless media figures that have been. You saw this. I don't remember where it came from, but where all these different people are Russian assets, like Jacques Posobiec. I can't even think of all the different dumb Benny Johnson, all these weird political pundits from the conservatives. They know haven't been paid by Russia to spread disinformation, and they're smaller figures. They're like weird, cringe people who are just grifters. They don't really care too much about Republican values or the truth. Obviously,
Clearly.
they're in it for power. And I don't understand Jill Stein. I really don't, because part of me wants to believe that she really believes the things she does, but if she did, she wouldn't be in this race. She wouldn't be trying this hard to, stand in the way of education expansion, healthcare reform, defeating Donald Trump. You really going to say that there's no difference between these two? I think there was something that alluded that she almost preferred Donald Trump. She gives me the vibe of somebody that's like an accelerationist. She would rather the society fall apart because it's going to advance the opportunity of a revolution or progressive change. People are going to be so discontent with capitalism that they're going to rise up and form a socialist union, something like that. This is my actual belief of Jill Stein. I think she's just an accelerationist. Like, I think that she thinks that if we just keep signing up for more establishment Democrats, that we're going to just stay in this sort of neoliberal phase forever. And so she would rather Donald Trump break everything down so that she can build it back up, kind of thing, which is obviously delusional. Obviously, if we look at every single election, Bernie Sanders was able to become popular because we had 8 years of liberal establishmentism. Not only were we comfortable with liberals, but we were, a little bit discontent with what we got from them. So we wanted something more. If we look at what happened post-Trump, they still had their movement from 2016, but people ultimately weren't as concerned about their ultimate ambitions and their goals, their true values. They were cared about winning. They don't give a shit. They don't care about if Joe Biden's going to, really, he's going to get us Medicare for all or whatever. No, that was never going to be an option anyways if Trump wins. So if we lose an election, there's the Overton window shifts to the right. If you win the election, the Overton window shifts to the left. Kamala Harris is not perfect. Do I think she's going to give us Medicare for all? Probably not. Do I think she's going to give us half the things on the progressive agenda? Probably not.
Yeah.
But is it going to get us closer than if Trump wins? Oh, absolutely it will. She's the most progressive candidate in U.S. history. If she wins, then people will say, okay, maybe progressive could win an election, theoretically. Maybe we try something else next time. It's the only way forward. There's no third party chance. Go ahead.
Well, third parties just can't win. I mean, that's just.
She literally can't win.
Yeah.
She objectively does not have enough states. So why would you waste your vote on her if she can't win? I don't get why people even show up to vote for somebody who doesn't even have 50 ballot. If she won 100% of the votes in every single state that she won or that she's in, she still can't win the election. So those people just piss me off. I'm not going to lie.
This is a historic election because at the end of the day, we could be electing the first African American women. And I don't think.
And Indian woman. She didn't just turn black.
Yes, she was Indian. She is Indian.
She still is.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't really get into it because it's like, bro, racial identity is your own thing. Like, you can identify however you want to. Like, I was born here in America, right? So I have different cultures. Like
Hmm.
I've been around Caribbean people, so there's aspects of that that I consider my culture. I've been around African Americans,
Yeah.
traditional African Americans,
Hmm.
and I have part of that in my DNA. I've been around a lot. Some of my friends are white, and I
Hmm.
identify with some white things from the white culture.
Yeah.
I'm not white. I don't have any percentage of me that's white, but and I trust me, I did a ancestry thing,
Yeah.
and so, but actually that's a lie. I have like 2% white, but
2%. Good
uh,
enough.
yeah, good enough for my white
I'm
card.
just
No,
kidding.
just playing.
There you go. There you
No,
go.
so yeah, so I get 2%. So at the end of the day, I culturally identify with so many different cultures, and
Yeah.
that who I am. It's like I'm not one culture. I'm just this melting pot of cultures, and like most Americans are. Most Americans are melting pots of cultures. It's
I'm
like,
impacted by cultures that I'm not even a part of. Like I'm
yeah,
not
exactly.
super ingrained. I'm more influenced by African American culture than I am the redneck country boys of the MAGA country. Like,
Yeah,
you know, ev- it's not like that's my racial identity, but cultural identity is different. And I don't understand how Trump it could be so brash about
hmm,
something that's so sensitive. I mean, I'm obviously it's Trump, so we move past this sort of oh
yeah.
she turned black thing, but like it's
Yeah, that's why I don't like because I think he's not really saying culturally. I think he's saying more. I'm sorry. I don't think he's talking more at ethnic. I think he's talking
I
more
think he
culture.
is. I think
I
he
think he's
is. I
talking
don't
about
think he even
culture
yeah,
because
yeah. No,
when most
I think
okay,
you're actually
so
right.
when most black people like when they say that, oh, you're not black. They're not
Yeah,
saying that I like my color is not black. They're saying that
yeah.
culturally you're not black because a lot of times, a lot of not a lot of black people, but there's certain types, of discrimination within among black people. If you talk proper, if you act a certain way, you're considered not black because you're
Mhm.
not culturally acting like a black person.
Yeah.
So, at the end of the day,
Well,
it's
he
your
probably should.
culture. Yeah, well, I mean, the idea is
You hear
stupid.
him come out about talking about how he refused to pay overtime pay and like laughs about it, that kind of thing. Did you
Yeah,
hear that
I
video?
heard. Yeah,
Disgusting. I mean, like
yeah,
my dad works most of his income is because he works so much overtime. He doesn't get paid very much. I don't understand how these people can hear. I do understand. They don't hear it. They
no,
don't hear. They never heard him say that. Their news never showed it to him, and that's the problem. Is like there's. It's obvious that the problem is the bubble thing. We're all stuck in a bubble. We're all a slave to the algorithm, and
hmm,
unless you're actually a free thinking person, you're not going to be able to disperse between the algorithm. You're going to think that this is a reflection of the rest of the country. Everybody on Twitter says Trump won. Everybody on Twitter. It's not really a reflection of an evenly distributed pool of people anymore. It's just a fucking disgusting pool of right wing propaganda. And it's
hmm.
it's hard because I really miss the old Twitter, but
It's
I
like
think
killing Twitter. Like he's slowly
which
killing Twitter
which
away.
could be the reason why he ends up selling it, which could be the reason why we get it back. But I really want if I'm accelerationist on anything, it's let's get Twitter back. Let's
Let's get Twitter
burn
back.
it to the ground so we can build it back.
The Twitter community comes together, creates an IPO, and buys Twitter back.
That would be amazing.
No,
We
I
should,
just think that I mean, to put a button on that topic of who culturally someone is, it's like that's not our position in life. That's not. I mean, it's just the same thing with the whole dogs and cats thing. We're Haitians.
yeah,
It's like, what are you talking about? The Haitians are not even animal lovers. So the fact that a Haitian would actually eat a cat or eat a dog. We don't even have those in our home. The
yeah,
majority of Asian people. So it's like culturally, he's saying these things to create this sensationalist, this narrative, and it's not even accurate.
yeah.
You're saying she's not black, but you don't know her on that level. No one
Well,
does. It's
they're
like,
also like alluding that the Haitians are like not supposed to be there either when they are
yeah,
literal legal migrants to that part of Ohio. Like it's
yeah,
really exposing like what they really mean when they say these things. They don't mean They don't care about the immigration status. They don't care about legal. They don't care about illegal. They care
Yeah,
about white. They care about black. They care about which country that they're from, how financially well off you are, whether or not you're gonna be a poor person coming to the country or a rich person. They just want to cleanse America, make it rich for rich white people to, all those the well off people, the good people, the ones that don't do crime, like all this,
yeah.
these dog whistles in their the back of their mind, and it's so impactful that like not just white people are believing them. We
I don't
see
think
it.
I think it's a backfire. I honestly, that's why I really think JD Vance heard his ticket because
Oh, it will backfire. It
it
will
will
backfire, but
it will backfire because we're in no time in American history we've been more diverse.
yeah.
It's like we have people who are literally white and black.
Hmm.
Majority of us, I just said I was 2% white, but it's like there's like a whole bunch of diversity now. So that rhetoric doesn't really stick anymore. People, and you see the
Well,
backlash with Afro
actually,
man.
as I was saying, I think it's there's a bifurcation there, but there's also,
Yeah,
as I was alluding to, Trump has a higher percentage of minority votes than Hillary Clinton did. Or
you
no,
know,
no, no. You know what I'm saying? Then wait, no.
the last Republican
You know,
nominee,
he more than Mitt Romney.
Mitt Romney.
Trump has more minority votes than Mitt Romney. That's what I meant to say.
Mitt
He's
Romney, yeah.
the most successful Republican president for minorities in a while, and you're
Yeah.
starting to see.
That's not something that Trump is doing. That's something the Democratic Party is doing to
Yeah,
itself.
I think. All right, so I think that there's a certain, as we were talking about culture thing. I think there's a certain amount of people, minority people, who are more culturally white, or they're more wanting to assimilate with the white culture, this kind of thing. So you see
Hmm.
people adopt super far right politics and join the
Hmm.
Republican Party when it's against
Yeah.
their own best interest. Like, for example, the obvious one is Mark Robinson in North
Hmm.
Carolina, the gubernatorial candidate. He's polling at like 33 to 35% now. He's
Yeah.
not going to win. So, like you said, there is going to be backlash. This kind of stuff is not popular, but it's
Yeah.
not like there's not a cascading effect where it's affecting smaller minority or smaller pockets in the minority community, and they're starting to bleed away from the Democratic Party.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's more
Yeah,
the Democrats doing less than Trump. I think here on out, going forward, if the Democratic Party doesn't change a lot of its positions, that Republican number is going to grow.
I don't know if that's.
I don't think it's
All
Trump.
right,
I
I
think,
think it's a combination. I think it's a combination because both Trump
yeah,
is doing more. I live in California. There's Trump ads in Spanish, and you
yeah,
know how Trump has done well in the Cuban community in Florida. Like
hmm,
there's reasons that Trump has done well in those communities, but as you were
a lot
saying,
of
there's also a lot of those people were voting for Democrats for more, not for cultural reasons, but more for like I don't know, immigration reasons, not normal. Uh, I guess it was cultural reasons, but now that they're starting to realize that like, oh, the liberal culture versus conservative culture is becoming more bifurcated instead of just being
yeah,
associated with political, then they're starting to realize I was a conservative Democrat, but my conservative values are more Trumpy now. I'm starting to. So there's always a giant group of black conservatives, but they've
yeah.
always voted for
Historically,
Democrats.
historically, African American church going people are technically conservatives.
Hmm.
They're in their ideology, but they vote
Yeah.
Democrat.
So there's a
But
large amount of black conservatives, but they don't vote
yeah,
for Democrats. So when you find people like that are black conservatives that vote for Republicans, they're
that's
pretty
my
inherently far right. They're the
yeah, they're
farthest.
far right, and they're still a minority, like a huge minority.
Sure, a
That
very small
yeah,
minority.
yeah.
But
I mean,
that's
I
why
would
people like Mark Robinson exist. And also, I don't know if people heard there's a second black Nazi dropped in Minnesota. Royce
yeah.
Young. I played with him in NBA 2K12. He was a first round draft pick in 2012. He played 3 games in the NBA, and he wouldn't fly on airplanes with his team because he had such bad mental issues and he's such a fear of flying. He had all these mental outbursts left and right all the time, and then he just retired and never did anything in the NBA. Now He liked to spotlight, so he's coming back and he's running for Senate in Minnesota. He says that the wrong guys won in World War II. This is why this keeps happening. The farthest right of the black conservatives do vote for Republicans. So we see a lot more minority people are being forefronted by the Trump, the Trump regime, the Trump party, like Carrie Lake, like
Mm-hmm.
like Mark Robinson. There's a lot of different people that are minorities, so it gives the impression that the Republicans are more diverse, which is why I think that more people are going to Republicans because they're not just forefronting white people anymore. But if you look in the details, you see they're far right. They have to be far right to be running as Republicans in the year of our Lord 2024. That
Yeah.
was my speech.
No, and it was a great speech, and I think that no, I think it's a great speech because it's very true what's happening, and we as a party, Democratic Party, um, we have to do a better job at talking to minorities. We just don't do it. It's you
Yeah,
know,
they
I
don't
think
do it at a relatable way anymore. You know what I mean?
no,
Like,
they do it in a way where they talk about the minority parties within the party every 4 years,
yeah,
and in
that's
between those
actually very
four
true.
years. Yeah, and within those 4 years, they don't say anything. So then you
Hmm.
have the progressive who are upset because like 4 years, nothing progressive got done. The
Yeah,
blacks are upset because in 4 years, nothing got addressed to advance their communities. The Latinos are upset because nothing got assessed in their communities. And so you have these because the problem is we're not the Republican Party is a it's very one standard. There are two ways you can be a Republican. You're a rich
yeah,
white guy, or you're an old guy who wants the country to go back to the 1950s.
or a
That's the
woman,
Democrat.
but
Or woman.
this it goes
Yeah,
across the way, rich or racist.
exactly. And that's the
Often both.
Republican. They don't have to tailor their messages that much.
Yeah,
Their messages kind of work for both groups. But Democrats, you have to have tailored messages and actually tailored
hmm,
policies because we have a diverse group of people:
yeah,
progressive, union workers, blacks, Latinos, white, working class people are the Democratic Party. We are
yeah,
the American Party. It's that, and so our problem is that us being the American Party is we tend to Democrats, the establishments tend to get elected and they go right to the donor base.
yes, true.
Whatever the donors want, that's what we're doing.
Hmm.
And then we'll explain to the other groups why we're doing what we're doing. And they've been doing that for the last 50 years. And so now we're like Trump is getting a little popular because of among minority groups like
Yeah,
Latinos and blacks. And it's like it's not because Trump, it's because they know what you're gonna say every 4 years and you don't do anything.
you're
And then
definitely right.
and then they wait again to the next election, like, hey, we're gonna give you this, we're gonna give you that, we're gonna give you this, and then they don't get anything, and it goes right back to the donor
Hmm.
base, whatever they want.
I
So
think
like,
that's a good explanation as to the difference between Hillary Clinton and and Barack Obama and their minority relations. I think that she was sort of we already know that she was not very economically progressive in sense
no,
she wants to win over the base. She had to be more socially. I don't even want to say progressive because that assigns it to me because I'm a
yeah,
progressive. But socially woke, we'll say.
yeah,
She forefronted Latinx, and ultimately what she was doing was talking to white liberals about racial diversity and all this stuff. She wasn't talking in a language that just a minority person who's just working, just trying to pay their paycheck. They don't care about these socially, these virtue signaling behaviors. This it's just they can see through that. Like you
they
said,
can, yeah,
for decades at a time, people they campaign on this kind of stuff and they just don't do anything for you.
yeah,
That's why you have to be more direct with people about the issues when talking to people who are feeling like they've been left behind, because you
hmm
can't just be virtue signaling. People have seen it for decade after decade. So
I mean,
I
we
think
gotta say, like, let's just call display what it is.
yeah,
The Democratic Party has only come out with two agendas that touch the average everyday American.
yeah,
Two, you have wealth, the Lyndon B. Johnson
mm,
passed all those reforms, and then
Yeah.
Barack Obama, which came
Yeah.
out of Obamacare. That's it.
Yeah.
I skipped over, and there's been Democratic presidents,
I
but I
mean, Bill
skipped over.
Clinton, but his best achievement was like, I had a federal surplus instead of a federal deficit. That's his big achievement. Whoop de fucking
Exactly.
do.
Yeah, but
Nobody's affected by that.
nothing tangible has happened in the party
Yeah.
that people can touch, except for Barack Obama's Obamacare
Hmm.
and the progressive agenda that Lyndon B. Johnson came out with at his
100%.
time. So that's what you're asking, like, why these groups are winning for Trump? Because
Hmm.
at the end of the day, he sounds like he's doing something for them.
Hmm.
He
I'm gonna
sounds
rip
like,
the whole system apart. I'm gonna shake it
yeah,
all up. I'm gonna drain the swamp. That's
what
great rhetoric, but do
exactly
something true. You know?
true. What he's doing is he's doing like, hey, the Democrats never got uh they never gave $1 billion to black universities. We
Hmm.
have. The Democrats hasn't done anything for prison reform. We've had.
That's
These
true.
are
That is a good
tangible,
Trump achievement.
those are tangible things that the average voter sees.
Hmm.
The Democrats can't say they have done that. They
Yeah.
just haven't. Now, have the economies been better on the Democrats? By long
By
shot,
far.
by far. But have we done a good job of telling that message to the everyday Democratic Democrat? No, we
Yeah.
haven't. I mean, Biden's trying to do something with student loans, and I think that that was tangible. And I see that he's trying to do something with student loans.
Yeah.
It just the policies. I get it. Most policies on the federal level are very ideology. They're very ideology driven. So you're
Yeah.
not going to see most changes
Hmm.
in your everyday life. You're just not. But
Yeah.
then but as I think as Democrats, we have to start thinking like, okay, we need to find something tangible to give to the base.
Yeah.
Which
They,
I think
they,
Biden did a
they
good
need to
job of doing that.
feel. They need to feel the growth instead of like, well, technically, the Dow Jones has hit its highest point in human history. Yes, those are all true things, but people don't feel that. The thing that they feel is, things were okay when Trump was president. I mean, he didn't, he did some wacky stuff, but we got through it, and
Yeah,
the economy was strong. And then they don't blame Trump for the COVID necessarily. COVID happened to the world, but then post
yeah,
COVID, we spent all this money. This money was this spending was taken advantage of by corporations with price gouging, because we all know inflation doesn't happen just when governments spend money. Inflation
yeah,
happens with purchasing power in certain industries. If you grow purchasing power, then the prices rise in those industries. So all across the board, when prices rose, this is not only the supply shock, but I mean, the prices were sticky. They
hmm
didn't reflect the actual purchasing power of the people post the COVID. Why would you reduce your prices if people still pay the prices? They're used to those prices. So
yeah,
inflation's down. Inflation's not a problem anymore, but those prices are sticky. And people are expecting the prices to return to a level in which they were, but money doesn't mean the same thing anymore. So at the end of the day, people still have a reflection that the economy is bad and the
yeah,
economy is expensive and things have gotten worse under Biden, and not acknowledging why. And that's the problem. And I mean, I'm glad that Biden's out of the way, because he did not know how to market this at all. Kamala Harris has done a good job. She does have a little bit of karma behind her, or baggage behind her, that people don't like her or trust her despite the true things that she says.
hmm
But I've at least, for the first time in my life, seen the Democratic Party put their best foot forward. And that's what makes me optimistic about this election.
and that is how you end it.
That's how you end it.
And that's how you end it. And I agree, Seth. This is a very optimistic election. Um, President Kamala Harris, what she'll become is something that I think will be a trendsetter going forward
Hmm.
in terms of the way that our presidents should be going forward.
Yeah,
How, strong leadership, but removing all the drama that comes with that office.
100%.
Yeah, and which I think we desperately need. I think
Hmm.
she is the candidate to do it, and I think she's going to do it. And well, you guys got to get out there and vote. It's the most important thing.
Hmm.
Got to go out there and make your vote count. I got to donate. I've been telling myself I need to donate to our campaign, but I've been slipping my mind. But this week I'll donate to our campaign because I just don't have time to go out and knock on doors.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna still donate and do my
Mhm.
part. And yeah, and I hope you guys do your part. And it's very important that us the young vote, we can always outbeat the Republicans.
Mhm.
There's way more
It's all
Democrats
about
than there.
turnout.
Hmm?
It's all
Yeah, but
about turnout.
we all got to get out there and show them like, hey, we want this, and this is the vision that we want for our country. And the past is gone. You know, the Trump rhetoric of 1950s and 1940s, bringing that back, that's gone. This is a new America. It's a new day, and we have new wars to worry about. We have wars against China. We have wars against, you know, fascism. We have wars that we're still fighting,
Hmm.
and so it's our country now, and we're going to, you know, gear, a vision for our country, and it's time to let the, how you say, pass the
Let the
baton.
pieces fall into place as they're meant to be, as the
Yeah,
universe meant this whole election to end. It's we just have to do our part,
yeah,
because
exactly.
we have the administrations, they're doing what they can in individual states. We have these faithless electors who are promising to delay the election. All this stuff just came out, that the Georgia case where they were trying to delay the election results, they
Mhm.
failed. It's been overruled. They can't do this anymore. They're now allowed
Exactly.
to delay the certification of the election. Things are slow. They're winning one battle at a time. We just have to all do our part.
Yeah, we gotta keep fighting. All right, guys. I hope you imagine more this week. We'll get back to you guys this week sometime. I hope you guys
Mhm.
have a great week. Work hard, and then we'll see you later on this week. And I
And
hope you keep
register to vote.
imagining more and register to vote.